What you see here is a massive gamble by Land Rover. The Defender has been a true British icon for years, partly due to its rugged no-nonsense charm and partly due to the fact that it hasn't changed in decades. So messing with that formula was almost unthinkable until now. Land Rover has completely shaken things up and replaced the rugged park car, park farm vehicle with this, a sophisticated, lavish and modern Defender. Will this car leave Defender fans, of which I may be one of them, squealing with delight or running away in protest? Let's find out, shall we? But before we begin, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? Remember to hit the bell icon as you do so. This turns on notifications, meaning you'll be informed the very second a new video from CarGurus UK goes live. Although there will be plenty of argument on whether this was the right thing for Land Rover to do, there is unlikely to be a great deal of argument on how good it looks. There's a nod to the original with its boxy upright design, chunky features, but with a more modern take on some of the details. Check out these cool LED headlights with traditional circular accents, the big square wheel arches and these funky little rear light units built directly into the flush rear end. This rear-mounted spare wheel is another traditional touch, as well as this side-hinged rear door to gain access to the boot. It's cool and it's different, but if you're in a tight parking space with another car behind you, you might struggle to get the door open without pulling the car forward a bit. Once you get to it though, the space is quite impressive and you've got this hard-wearing plastic, which when it gets muddy is really easy to clean. The rear seats fold in 3 different portions too, and although they don't lie completely flat, there are no awkward steps in your extended load area. Note though, it is quite high up, so loading bulky items can be a little tricky. It's almost time to get in the new Defender, but before we do, we're going to give you 5 things that you need to know. And the first thing is body styles. And just like the old Defender, there's a 90 and a 110. This is the larger 110 and you get 5 doors. And with the 90, you get 3 doors. Number 2, seats. Both the 90 and 110 have 5 seats as standard, but that's not the full story. Our car doesn't have them, but for an extra cost, the 110 can be had with a 3rd row, making it a 7-seater. The 90, meanwhile, can sit up to 6 thanks to the option of a jump seat between the driver and front passenger. Again, just like some of the old Defenders. Number 3, equipment. All cars come pretty well stocked, including sat-nav, cruise control, driver assistance features and a hardcore off-roading system as standard. Most buyers will want to upgrade from the entry level to S trim at the very least, thanks to its alloy wheels, part leather upholstery and heated front seats. SE and HSE trims add even more. Number 4, prices. At the time this video was made, prices start at just over £44,000 for the entry-level 90 and rise to more than £82,000 for the most expensive version of the 110, so it is not a cheap car. It's also worth noting though that resale values will be about as strong as it gets for a car of this type. And finally, number 5, efficiency, or rather lack of it. At best you'll get 30 miles per gallon and company car tax will be pretty high. However, good news, there is a hybrid version on the way. Now back to practicality. As you can see, it is very spacious in the back here. Even if you're 6 foot, you won't be complaining. I'm only 5'4.5" and any of the 3 seats are comfortable, and there's a flat floor as well, so there's somewhere to put your feet. And if you look behind you, you can see these cool safari windows, just like the original Defender. Up front, there's a fantastic high-up commanding driving position, as you might expect, and all models come with a certain degree of electrical adjustment in the seats. And this top-of-the-range first edition even has an electrically adjustable steering wheel, although that is as far as it comes, so it would be better if it was a little bit closer. The other thing that immediately strikes you is the mixed nature of the materials in here. In a few places you'll find posh looking Range Rover-esque type materials, but in most others you'll find plastics that are harder and more durable. And these feel like they are intended to convey a more functional image rather than cost cutting, and the same goes for these exposed bolts here. And down here underneath the mats, lift them up and there's wipe clean plastic rather than carpets. How practical is that? In true Land Rover style, you can function all of these controls with gloves on, which means that you don't have to go through the touchscreen to get to certain controls. Having said that though, the standard touchscreen infotainment system is way better than previous Land Rover systems because it's more intuitively arranged and it has faster responses and better graphics. Not that the original Defender had a touchscreen system, but there you go. All but the entry-level cars also get these digital instruments which present all the important driving data very clearly indeed. Two more things to note. One is a positive and one is not. So firstly, the positive, there's plenty of storage. We've got deep door bins here, 2 cup holders, some space down there. And this is a little bit like the cubby box that you got in the original Defender. And there's also a decent sized glove box. Now, the negative point is that rear visibility with that rear wheel, the spare wheel and the headrests and the large pillars means that you can't really see out the back very well. And if you're only 5'4.5" or shorter, you'll find that this mirror here is quite annoying when you get to a junction or a mini roundabout because it's quite large and it's quite deep. However, all cars do come with 360 cameras and parking sensors, so when you're parking, it's a doddle. We've been sitting still long enough. Should we take it for a drive now? The thing about the old Defender, while it was pretty much unstoppable off-road, on it was quite agricultural. It had limited performance, lots of noise and wayward handling. Land Rover's aim with this Defender is to smooth off those edges and by quite a lot. And the good news is it's largely done it. Drive around calmly and sedately and it's really rather civilised. And the 110 comes with air suspension as standard across all 110 models. And if you come across a bump in the road, it just steamrollers it into submission. So life is very comfortable indeed. The standard automatic gearbox also keeps life easy and the light steering makes the car surprisingly easy to manoeuvre at low speeds. So far, so good. It's when you start moving faster that the laws of physics become more noticeable. You become more aware of the car's colossal size. You have to concentrate on driving more as it feels a little more unsettled and the ruts and ripples are felt more in the cabin. And unsurprisingly, for a high-sided car that weighs more than 2 tons, it doesn't particularly enjoy changing direction, even at middling speeds. It's a similar story with the engine. The 237 brake horsepower diesel engine fitted to our car felt entirely adequate when pootling around at low urban speeds, but try and pick up the pace and the engine feels like it has to work quite hard to deliver even moderate acceleration and to maintain a constant motorway speed as well. Not entirely surprising when the car is so heavy. There's good news on that front though, because Land Rover has recently announced it's going to replace the 2-litre 4-cylinder engine called the D40 with a 3-litre 6-cylinder engine called the D250. There's only 10 extra horsepower, however, with the extra cylinders and size, hopefully that power will be delivered a little more easily. All in all, you have to say that the latest Defender is a massive improvement over the car it replaces when it comes to road manners. But what about its all-important off-road ability? It's a Defender after all, and that's not something that Land Rover can afford to scrimp on. Well, it's certainly got all the necessary components with 4-wheel drive, a super stiff chassis, twin-speed transfer box, high ground clearance and short overhangs front and rear, as well as Land Rover's terrain response system, which uses clever electronics to maximise traction. All of that means you can be confident that the Defender will plough through mud, scamper over rocks and wade through rivers up to 900mm deep, allowing you to reach parts of the countryside that most 4x4s, even supposedly rugged ones, can only dream of reaching. So what's the verdict on the new Defender? Well, it depends what you're comparing it with. If you're comparing it with the old model, then it's a completely different animal. For starters, it feels more like a car than a farm vehicle. It's got more sophisticated driving manners, a more pleasant interior, more creature comforts, lots more in the way of technology, meaning you make less compromise for its fantastic off-road ability. That said, if you're after a big family SUV rather than a true blue off-roader, an Audi Q7 or Volvo XC90 will probably suit you better. However, if you want something edgier, tougher and effortlessly cool, then a Defender will suit you very well. We'd love to know if you agree with our verdict on the Land Rover Defender, so please do let us know in the comments below. Are you a Defender fan like me? And are you crying in the corner or are you squealing with delight? And while you're there, please browse our channel for more new and used car reviews. Remember to like and subscribe, and to find a great deal from a top-rated dealer on your next car, you can always head over to cargurus.co.uk.